The rain was relentless that afternoon, a cold, hammering sheet of water against the windshield of my old Volvo as I pulled into the daycare parking lot in Somerville. My phone buzzed in the cup holder, a sharp metallic ping that cut through the rhythm of the wipers. I glanced at it, expecting Mark's usual text about picking up groceries or our daughter's latest obsession with strawberry yogurt. Instead, the words on the screen stopped my breath. A single, brutal text message. Finalizing transfer of our joint savings. Moving to Lisbon with Chloe. All the best. My fingers froze on the steering wheel. The world narrowed to that glowing screen, the rain a distant, muffled roar. Lily, my 5-year-old, was inside, probably clutching her paint-splattered backpack, waiting for me to sign her out. I was Sophie Hayes, 38, a freelance illustrator who'd traded late-night design deadlines for bedtime stories, and now, apparently, the ex-wife of Mark Caldwell, who had just detonated our life with a text message more sterile than a severance notice. Our joint savings, $78,000, scraped together over 9 years of marriage, every freelance gig, every skipped vacation, gone. I frantically logged into my bank app. The checking account had $512.38. Rent for our Cambridge apartment, $3,200, was due in 4 days. I forced myself out of the car, the icy Boston rain soaking my hoodie as I crossed the lot. Inside, the daycare smelled of crayons and apple juice, a comforting, familiar chaos. Lily ran to me, her dark curls bouncing, her voice bright. "Mommy, did you bring my bunny crackers?" I knelt, pasting on a smile that felt like it was cracking my face. "Not today, sweet pea. How about we grab some on the way home?" My hands trembled as I signed the clipboard, the daycare teacher's cheerful chatter about circle time fading into static. Mark's text looped in my mind, each word a fresh cut. Chloe, his assistant, all sharp heels and sharper ambition, always lingering too long at his office parties. I'd ignored the warning signs, his late nights at the office, the new lock on his phone, the way he'd brush off my questions with a laugh about client demands. Now, those signs were a neon billboard flashing fool, fool, fool. In the car, Lily buckled into her booster seat, humming a song about rainbows. "Is Daddy making tacos tonight?" she asked, her big brown eyes meeting mine in the rearview mirror. "Daddy's on a work trip, honey," I said, the words tasting like acid. "We'll have pizza instead." Her face lit up completely, beautifully oblivious to the fault lines cracking wide beneath our lives. I typed a reply to Mark, my thumb shaking so hard I had to try 3 times. "Thanks for the heads up." 3 words to mask the scream building in my chest. My heart pounded, not just from anger, but from the sudden suffocating weight of survival. How do you keep a roof over your daughter's head when your entire world has been gutted and sold for parts? I gripped the wheel, the Boston skyline blurring through the rain, and vowed Lily would never, ever see me break. Back at our cramped apartment overlooking the Charles, I tucked Lily in front of her favorite cartoon, her giggles a fleeting anchor in the storm. The rain had followed us home, drumming against the windows as I dialed the bank, my stomach a cold, hard knot. The representative's voice was polite, detached, and utterly useless. "Yes, ma'am, I see the wire transfer for $78,000 was initiated this morning from the joint account. Since Mr. Caldwell is a joint owner, there's nothing we can do to recall it." I sank onto the couch, the weight of Mark's betrayal pressing down on my ribs, making it hard to breathe. I remembered meeting him at a design conference in Seattle. He'd swept me off my feet with handwritten notes tucked into my sketchbook and promises of a life built together. I was a senior graphic designer then, climbing the ladder at a small firm, my dreams fueled by late-night coffee and ambition. Mark, a marketing hotshot, had a smile that could sell anything, including a future I believed in. We married fast, moved to Boston for my promotion, and bought a small condo. When Lily arrived, I joyfully scaled back to freelancing, trading boardroom pitches for bedtime stories, while Mark's career carried us financially. But the cracks had formed. Unexplained charges on our credit card, dinners, hotels, appeared 2 years ago after we sold our condo to help fund his college buddy's tech startup, a venture that collapsed in 6 months, taking our equity with it. He'd brushed off my questions, citing market risks, and I'd trusted him, ignoring the receipts for late-night dinners he claimed were client meetings. His mother, Eleanor, never helped. She'd breeze into our lives from her Upper East Side apartment in New York, her designer heels clicking with disapproval. "Lily needs real discipline, Sophie," she'd say, her eyes flicking over my paint-stained jeans. "You're far too soft. It's this Freelance lifestyle. No structure. Mark never defended me. His silence was a quiet, constant betrayal I'd chosen to ignore. My phone rang, shattering the memory. Eleanor's name flashed on the screen. Her voice was ice. Sophie, what in God's name have you done? Mark is beside himself. He said you're keeping Lily from him unless he pays you more money. I gripped the phone, stunned into silence. What? Eleanor, Mark left me. He's moving to Lisbon with Chloe. He took every penny of our savings. I'm not the one lying. Don't you dare play the victim, she snapped. I've seen the texts. You're threatening to cut him off from his daughter. You've become unhinged. Her words were a punch, revealing Mark's deeper game. He wasn't just leaving. He was already spinning a preemptive narrative to paint me as the villain, the unstable, vindictive ex. I ended the call, my hands shaking, not just from anger but from the dawning, terrifying fear that this fight was bigger than money. It was about Lily. It was about the truth. I looked at her, coloring happily on the floor, and felt a resolve harden inside me. Mark thought he could erase us. He was wrong. The next morning, after dropping a cheerful Lily at daycare, I drove to Mark's office in the financial district. The Boston rain had settled into a gray, miserable curtain over the city. I needed answers. I needed to see his face, to believe the man I'd married wasn't this cruel, this monstrous. The receptionist's professional smile faltered when I asked for him. Mr. Caldwell, he resigned last week, she said, her fingers fidgeting with a pen. Yesterday was his last day. Last week? My voice sounded hollow, like it was coming from down a long tunnel. But he was here on Monday. We had dinner. She avoided my eyes. He submitted his resignation 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. I can't discuss personnel matters. 2 weeks. While I'd been planning Lily's preschool art show, Mark had been dismantling our life, piece by piece. In the parking garage, I called his friend Ben, who'd always been kind but distant. Hey, Sophie, he answered, his voice cautious. You okay? You knew, I said, the accusation slipping out, flat and dead. You knew he was leaving. His silence was the only answer I needed. He made me swear not to tell, Ben finally said, his voice low. He said he needed a clean break, that Chloe made him happy, and that you and Lily would be better off without him. Happy? The word burned. He took our savings, Ben, all $78,000. Did he tell you that? Jesus, no, he said, his voice dropping. I didn't think he'd go that far, Sophie, I swear. I hung up, the betrayal a fresh gaping wound. Back home, a certified letter waited in our mailbox. Mark's divorce petition, filed a week ago, listing a Lisbon address. And a motion, relinquishing all parental rights to Lily. My heart stopped. He wasn't just leaving me, he was deleting his daughter. A note from his lawyer claimed I had substantial personal savings to cover our needs. A lie so blatant it twisted the knife. I tore through Mark's home office, desperate for anything. In a drawer beneath old bills, I found an envelope addressed to Eleanor. Inside was a birthday card, and tucked into it, a note in Mark's familiar script. Mom, thanks again for the Lisbon apartment deposit. Chloe and I can't wait to show you the place. Couldn't have done this without you. Love, Mark. The card was dated 3 months ago. Eleanor hadn't just known. She'd bankrolled his escape. My hands shook as I photographed the card, rage and a strange, cold clarity colliding. This was no longer about saving our marriage. It was about saving Lily's future. I sat across from Julia Quinn in her modest downtown Boston office, the Charles River glinting through the window. Julia, a divorce attorney recommended by an old college friend, had a no-nonsense warmth that immediately put me at ease. I handed her the petition, the bank statements, and the photo of Mark's note to his mother. He took everything, I said, my voice finally cracking. And he's trying to make me the bad guy. Julia's eyes narrowed as she reviewed the documents. What Mark did isn't entirely illegal, Sophie. Joint accounts are a nightmare. But it's despicable, and judges don't take kindly to this kind of financial abandonment. We can file for emergency child support and try to freeze any assets we can find. She leaned forward. But we need proof he's earning income while dodging his responsibilities. I nodded, clutching screenshots of his text and the bank transfer. That evening, my parents called from Springfield, their voices a lifeline. We're covering your rent, Mom said firmly, and we're wiring you money for a retainer. You are not alone in this, Sophie. Their support eased the knot in my chest, giving me space to breathe, to fight. Later, with Lily asleep, I searched Mark's abandoned desk again. On our shared laptop, I found an unsent email in his drafts. It was addressed to Chloe. Attached was his updated resume, listing his new job, VP of Marketing, Optima Global, Lisbon. The start date was 2 days after his text. My heart raced. This was the proof Julia needed. I forwarded it to her, my fingers trembling with a mix of hope and fury. Mark thought he could vanish, but I was finding the threads of his lies, pulling them apart one by one. In the quiet of midnight, with Lily's soft snores drifting from her room, I sat at the kitchen table, Mark's laptop open. I'd remembered his predictable passwords, Lily's birthday, our anniversary, and tried them on his cloud storage. It worked. Folders spilled open, each a piece of his betrayal, transfer confirmations, emails to Chloe, and a document labeled Custody Protocol. My stomach churned as I read it. Mark and Eleanor had a plan. They were going to use my postpartum depression, which I'd fought through with therapy 3 years ago, to paint me as an unstable, unfit mother, and file for full custody of Lily, once they were settled in Spain. The words blurred as tears of rage stung my eyes. I trusted Mark during those dark months after Lily's birth, when sleep was a stranger, and despair clung to me like a damp fog. He'd seemed supportive, bringing me coffee, holding my hand, urging me to see the therapist he had found. Now I saw it for what it was. Ammunition gathering. Worse. A text from Eleanor to Mark, dated months ago, laid it out in black and white. Once you're settled in Lisbon, we can push for custody. Her history of instability gives us all the leverage we'll need. Among the files was a screenshot of a Cayman Islands account, our $85,000 from the condo sale, set up with Eleanor's help years ago. The discovery wasn't just a financial lifeline, it was proof of their long-term, calculated conspiracy. I sent everything to Julia. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from a growing, purifying fire. My phone rang as I was helping Lily with a finger-painting project, her laughter a brief reprieve. The number was unknown, but the voice was unmistakable. Chloe. Her usual sharp confidence was frayed, replaced by a thin, reedy panic. "Sophie, we need to talk," she said. He's falling apart, and I'm done." "And why should I care?" I asked, keeping my voice low so Lily wouldn't hear. "Because he's hiding money from me too," Chloe said, her voice dropping. "Another account, in Liechtenstein. There's over $250,000 in it. He booked a flight back to Boston. He lands tomorrow morning and he's unhinged. He thinks I'm stealing from him. I'm worried about what he'll do." I stepped onto the balcony, the Boston skyline dim under the clouds. "What do you want, Chloe?" "Protection," she said. "If I give you the evidence, the account numbers. I need immunity. Mark will come after me when he knows I talked." I consulted Julia, who crafted a deal. Immunity from any civil action in exchange for full, sworn documentation. By evening, Chloe had sent encrypted bank statements for the Liechtenstein account, plus a sworn affidavit detailing Mark and Eleanor's months-long plan to abandon us and secure Lily. Her betrayal of Mark wasn't loyalty to me, it was self-preservation. But it gave me the final piece I needed. As I saved the files, my heart pounded with a strange mix of dread and triumph. Mark was coming back, but I was ready for him. Julia secured an emergency restraining order hours before Mark's flight from Lisbon landed at Logan Airport. Airport security detained him at the gate, serving him the order and a summons for the next day's emergency hearing. His one call from the security office was venomous. "You have no idea what you've done, Sophie." "See you in court, Mark," I replied, and hung up. The hearing was a reckoning. Julia laid out the case with surgical precision. The text, the drained savings, the Lisbon job, the PPD custody protocol, the Cayman account, and finally, Chloe's affidavit and the Liechtenstein account. The custody protocol document, detailing their intent to use my depression against me, drew a sharp, angry glance from the judge. Mark's lawyer, a slick man Mark must have retained from Lisbon, floundered. His defense crumbled under the weight of the evidence. "I have seen enough," the judge said, her voice steel. She granted all our motions. Mark's known accounts were frozen. I received temporary full custody of Lily, and Mark was restricted to supervised visitation, pending a full forensic accounting. As we left the courtroom, Mark, looking shattered and gray, got a buzz on his phone. He looked at it, and his face went white. He whirled on me, his eyes wild. You got me fired." "I didn't do anything," I said. Just then, my own phone buzzed. It was an email from a Maria Santos at Optima Global in Lisbon. "Ms. Hayes," she wrote, "we received an alarming email, allegedly from you, detailing Mr. Caldwell's custody dispute, along with copies of his legal documents. He was terminated this morning for failure to disclose these legal issues." She had forwarded the email. A fabricated, hysterical message sent from a burner account, with attachments of my own legal filings. My blood ran cold. Only Eleanor had been in my apartment. She'd visited after Mark's text, offering support, while clearly rummaging through my files. This was her move. Sabotage Mark's job, ensure he couldn't pay support, and weaken our court order. Mark was still glaring at me. "It was your mother," I said, my voice cold as ice as I forwarded him the email. "Check the documents. She had access when she was here. She's been playing both of us." He went silent, scrolling through his phone. Then, in a fit of pure, unadulterated rage at his mother, he muttered, "I'll call you back." An hour later, my phone lit up with a string of forwarded texts. The entire chain between him and Eleanor. It revealed her entire plan to undermine me from the start, including her pushing him to use my PPD, painting me as unstable to him for months. He hadn't known the full extent of her manipulation. I sent every single text to Julia. "Add this to the file. We're filing for identity fraud and conspiracy charges against Eleanor Morrison." The months after brought a quiet, brutal justice. The forensic accounting uncovered not just the $85,000 and the $250,000, but additional funds Eleanor had hidden for Mark. She was indicted by a grand jury for identity fraud, and her social standing in New York crumbled when her charities learned of her actions. Mark's reputation in Boston's marketing world tanked, his abandonment and conspiracy detailed in public court records. He rarely used his supervised visitation rights, fading from Lily's life like a shadow. With the recovered funds, I bought a cozy condo in Boston's South End, its bright walls soon covered in Lily's paintings. I returned to full-time design work at a firm that valued my talent and offered flex hours for single mothers. Lily thrived, her laughter filling our sunlit home. One evening, as I tucked her into her bunny-themed bed, she asked, "Will Daddy ever visit again, Mommy?" "I don't know, sweetheart," I said, brushing the curls from her forehead. "But we're enough. You and me." Her smile was my anchor. Mark's text, "All the best," had been meant to break me. Instead, it sparked a strength I hadn't known I possessed, forged in the fire of betrayal, and tempered by a ferocious love for my daughter. I wasn't just surviving anymore. The Boston skyline, once a blur through the rain, was now sharp and clear. It wasn't a cage. It was a promise.